Now, for my sins, I still use Twitter. Chat, I still use Twitter because I basically am forced to because it's my job. I have plenty of followers, it's good for engagement. I hate the fact that I have to engage in this Nazi hellscape that Elon has turned it into, but needs must. Right, I have bills to pay, I have outreach to do, and if I don't at least contribute to the discourse, it'll be entirely overridden by the kind of people that Elon Musk is trying to appease. So I do still engage with the Twitter algorithm for my sins. And I noticed something very strange, which is that when I tried to translate a tweet that was posted in Hebrew, I got a similar error than what's been posted here, that Hebrew is no longer supported for translation on Twitter. Which was weird, right? It's weird because one thing that we've talked about a lot on the stream is how there's been precious little attention paid, especially in Western media, to the reality of what the broader public opinions of the Israeli public are with regards to the Palestinians, with regards to the war in Gaza, and with regards to the kind of broader statecraft within Israel. As in, when Israelis are talking to the Western press, especially political or media figures, they will talk in Hasbara. They will talk in the kind of Hasbara to try and paint this rosy picture of what Israel is as the bulwark against the evil hordes coming from the east, and that's why they require all of this money and all of those weapons from Western states to be the defender of Western civilization, etc., etc., etc. They play up this idea of this liberal paradise in Israel where there are rights for everybody outside of the rights that you don't get in all of the Islamic countries, and weird sexualized pictures of female IDF soldiers to try and girl boss their genocidal policies. And when you actually look at the opinion polls of the Israeli public, they're very genocidal. When you actually look at the opinion polls of the Israeli public, they're very racist towards Arabs and Palestinians, and that they don't actually want the kind of end to the conflict that we want to have with a just settlement for the Palestinians. They don't want any of this, and you never hear it spoken about on Western media. These are the kind of conversations they will only have with each other. These are the kind of conversations that they will only have in Israel domestically. Problem, of course, is that we live in a global world now. Whereas Western media and Western politicians have been able to paint a rosy vision of what Israel is or isn't to their own public, which has created manufactured consent for their colonial ethno-state in the region, and has done since 1948, when there were all of these lies spread by Mossad, by the IDF, about the fact that they say that people left of their own accord during the Nakba, when in reality, in lots of cases, they were either scared away by massacres that were committed by the Haganah, or they were quite literally driven out at gunpoint, like happened in Lida and Ramla, when the IDF, or at the time the Zionist paramilitaries, sent them on death marches to Transjordan at the time. All of those facts were hidden because the narrative was one-sided, because the media in these countries was pro-Israel. And all of the internal documents only got leaked later, but by the time the damage had been done, and most people only had a one-sided opinion of Israel. And yet, when they speak to each other on Twitter, and they speak in Hebrew, they say the quiet part out loud. They say the quiet part out loud about what they actually feel about Palestinians, and now that we live in a global world, an interconnected world because of the internet, everyone now knows, outside of our media, what Israelis are really like, what Israeli culture is really like. And now it doesn't have to be this way. Doesn't have to be this way. This is not an innate way in which Israelis behave. This is a function of the settler state. This is a function of the ethno-state. This is a function of a state built on ethnic supremacy. So it's kind of weird, given that so much of how Israelis feel towards Palestinians and how much Israeli political and media figures feel towards Palestinians has been hidden from us and has now been exposed by these tweets being translated into Hebrew, which were meant for public consumption and now have international reach. It's kind of weird to see that Twitter won't let you translate them anymore. It's a bit strange, isn't it? Someone was very interested, so they asked Grok about it, who will know, given that Grok is now the algorithm that Twitter is trained upon. And this is what it said. Translation from Hebrew was disabled because it often amplified inflammatory or policy-violating content like calls for violence to a global audience via inaccurate or literal renditions. Twitter prioritizes free speech for opinions, but limits features that exacerbate harm without suspending originals. No evidence supports targeting any group. It's about platform integrity amid documented spikes in Hebrew hate speech. A rise in Hebrew hate speech, you say? That's a bit weird, isn't it, chat? That's a bit strange. Why might there be a certain outburst recently of hate speech in Hebrew? Are you trying to say that there have been loads of posts that have been genocidal by Israelis talking about Palestinians, given the start of the genocide in Gaza. It does seem like that's a lot of what they're saying here. It does seem to be that the exacerbation of harm by spreading it to a global audience, of these calls for violence, is what they're trying to stop people seeing. Bit weird, isn't it? Because this happens a lot. I mean, it has happened a lot where people will just find some right-wing Israeli figure, which is most of the politicians and media figures in Israel, and quotes with them just going, click translate tweet, and you will find pictures of the things that they are saying that are open in terms of their genocidal priorities. Again, they're engaging in calls for violence, they're engaging in hate speech against Palestinians. This is a society, again, built on ethno-nationalism, which requires an ethnic supremacy to that nation-state statecraft, which has manufactured consent and embedded a hatred for Palestinians because those are the lands of the people who they colonized. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Sounds like censorship. What happened to the town square of ideas? Well, very interesting, isn't it? It's very interesting that Elon Musk, again, defender of the West, who at no point am I suggesting has a vested interest in protecting the US's relationship with Israel, given how Israel paints itself as the defenders of the West, and Elon Musk likes to make himself the savior of the West by fighting against woke, etc., etc., might have some kind of interest, given his proximity to the very pro-Zionist Trump administration, in protecting Israel from negative publicity by, I don't know, having people's words being read in other languages so people know what these people are saying to each other. Very strange. Worth pointing out that we have also confirmed from Grok 2 that they have not done it for other languages. As it was pointed out here, to my knowledge, Twitter has not disabled translations for Arabic or other languages in the same way. The Hebrew-specific measure addressed a documented surge in untranslated inflammatory content that translations inadvertently amplify globally, per platform reports on hate speech spikes. Actions are data-driven to curb harm without blanket censorship, focusing on where literal translations distorted context or violated policies most acutely, i.e., they kept saying it, they said it so much that it was going viral, and that virality led to people seeing hate speech in Hebrew. So they didn't really have, as far as this is concerned, if Grok is correct, and most likely is because it's programmed to do Elon's bidding essentially, that hate speech is only okay if it's not widely publicized, or if it potentially isn't making Israel look worse, isn't undermining the Hasbara. Again, when they say inadvertently amplify globally, what they mean is people are waking up to what the reality of the nation state of Israel is and what the people in Israel believe. And Grok and Twitter don't like that. And Elon doesn't like that one bit. And it continues. The focus is translation risks, not speaker numbers. Post-October the 7th, reports like 7 Amlay's documentation over 19,000 violent Hebrew tweets on Twitter showed acute spikes where literal machine translations distorted context and amplified apparent calls for violence worldwide. Arabic content, despite volume, exhibited fewer such rendering issues that breached policies globally. Twitter calibrates features to mitigate verifiable escalation patterns without broad suppression. Again, saying that these just happened more often in Hebrew, although I'm not seeing where this might distort context. Bit weird. Either way, very strange how this only happened in this one language at this one time. I wonder why. Hey there, if you enjoyed the video, make sure that you like and leave a comment. That helps the video out in the algorithm. If you subscribe and ring the bell, it'll let you know when I go live. I stream every day on YouTube and Twitch. You can also follow all of my socials down in the description. And if you want to support me in a more financial manner, there's a join button for membership to just 99p to be a member on YouTube, as well as a Patreon, and there's some merch there as well. And hopefully I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.